Hey guys, Chad here. Wanted to preface this by saying this is going to be a long live video of me tuning the Bfight 210 plug and play version here. And some people will like it, some people will not. That's okay. But I just wanted to forewarn anybody. Skip around, maybe check some things out. You might learn something.
What's going on, guys? Chad C, RC back with you, and this is going to be a setup and tuning video for the Bfight 210, purchased from GearBest, ultralight 5-inch racing quad. Now, I have made a couple modifications to it, just because the first one being the camera. There is a Runcam micro Swift on here. The stock camera just has too crazy of a lens and aspect ratio for me compared to what I'm used to. For some beginners, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal, but I would suggest to upgrade the camera as fast as you can, just because the really weird aspect lens ratio that you get is really going to make it hard for you to learn how to fly or to fly it properly. So this has just got a 3D printed mount. It's kind of hard to see in there because it's black. This was by Travis Grendel, I believe. A lot of you probably know his channel. He does a lot of builds and stuff like this. And he designed it. I printed it in PLA just because I didn't want to mess around with TPU and I wanted to hurry up and get it on there. I also have added a 1035 volt microfarad capacitor, just soldered to the back of the ESCs. Pretty much any quad these days needs to have a cap on it, in my opinion, just because of the high power batteries and aggressive props that we're using. That just helps clean up a lot of the electrical noise that might be in there, and we don't want that stuff getting to our gyro. Gonna tune with the Gemfan 5152 props that come with it, just so that way everybody can kind of see what's going on. I normally like to fly with dial cyclones. These are, I think, 5046, and they kind of got, you know, the tip and stuff on them too. These are really my favorite prop to freestyle and race with, and they come in a lot of cool colors too, and they're a really good price. So we'll hook this thing up to Betaflight real quick and show you what I've done with that. Forgot to tell you, I also added a FreeSky XM Plus receiver inside there because I have the plug and play version. So you might have to skip that part if you already have one that has a receiver built in.
So looking at my current configuration here in Betaflight, you see my rates, some things that I did. I have dynamic filters turned on. We're running a 4K Pid loop, D-Shot 600, pretty much everything standard the way that it's supposed to be set up. There's some givens that I just go ahead and take for granted now with Betaflight, since everything works so good, especially on a multi-rotor like this that we're tuning more for racing. I'm not going to be using a GoPro on this, so this is just going to be like a flyer, freestyle, bashing type of thing. So tuning will be easy. We're not really dealing with trying to get the smoothest footage. We're just trying to get a great flyer. So right away I put my D terms down to 20 because for this kind of machine the default D terms are way too high. Betaflight PIDs are supposedly built off of an Alien 5-inch. That's kind of what they're focused on, and that's like a 700 and some gram quad, maybe 650 when you got everything on it. And we're running at about, I don't know, 330 to 350 with battery and everything. So we definitely don't need that much D term. Now, as far as P term, we'll still want that because the P term, it's going to be really, we can probably jack these P terms and we'll see way high. We could probably go into like the 80s and 90s before we might even start to see a glimpse of something bad. They are really going to be based on a tightness and a feel. And this is, if you're a beginner and you're learning to tune and you want to start tuning with Betaflight, this quad is definitely going to be one that is going to help you understand that and become a better flyer, because you can start off with these PIDs or stock PIDs and fly just fine, but as you raise P levels, you are going to feel the difference in the sticks. There's just no doubt about it. No matter if you're just cruising around at 15 miles an hour or if you're going around at 60 miles an hour, you are going to feel the difference when you start increasing your Ps on roll and pitch. Y'all, it's pretty much just a given. I just kind of set mine at 85 on everything. You can go as high as like 100, 110. It's, again, more of a feel thing. You're not going to bring out any bad tendencies in this type of quad. Same thing with the eye gains. They're just kind of a given too. These will change environmentally. Like today there's no wind, so I know I'm going to be pretty good. Now, if I was going to a race day where it was going to be kind of windy, I would probably just work on my roll eye, because you use pretty much just your roll axis to turn when you're racing anyway. You don't really do much coordinated stuff with the yaw. Now, if you're freestyling, you don't want to jack up the roll eye gain that high, because that's going to affect how you can incorporate yaw. So when it comes to the Ps, you can see I am at just starting him at like 50, 60, and then I put yaw at 85. So really we're just going to be focusing on roll pitch P and roll and pitch D. Below that, you do see these two sliders. Those are the PID controller settings, and that is going to be for the D set point. Anything to the left of where my thing is, 1 and below on the top line, is going to almost turn this setting off. So you want it at least 1 to turn on a better relationship to what your stick does versus the quad does. I would just go ahead and start with 1. Don't leave it at 0, because you're just going to set yourself up worse in the long term. The transition is kind of like a weight of that, and most people feel comfortable between like a 0.4 and like a 0.7. You can leave these just stock if you want to, that's fine. It just is how your stick correlates to gyro control versus stick control, and how your D term reacts to all that. It's kind of a mystery science. It's another one of those feel things. Even some of the best YouTubers out there will just say that you really just have to play around with it and feel it. If you're going to be flying a lot of freestyle quads, these are kind of handy, because they will help get rid of bounce backs and stuff like that no matter what you do with your PIDs, you just can't clean up. So that is where we are with our PIDs, and let's take a look at our filters. So since everything on this quad is brand new, motors, props, all that kind of stuff, I am going to be turning on PT1 and disabling all notch filters, and I also have dynamic filtering enabled in the configurations tab. This will allow Betaflight and the software and the processor just to handle all filtering as far as what kind of noise it's picking up. And this thing flies really smooth, so there's not much noise in there really to begin with. I've seen some people on YouTube soft mount their motors. I usually soft mount motors on like my bigger 6-inch quads to limit gyro noise, but there's just not much noise that's going to be introduced to the system. So it's just best to let dynamic filter handle it, so that way we can get the best feel and tune for ourselves. So now that all that is set up, we're going to go ahead and go outside and get to flying. Alright, so my first voice recording outside didn't work out too well. And whenever you're tuning without a GoPro, it's really hard for people to see things. So the best thing I can do is just kind of describe what I was saying. We're going to be focusing on a lot of hard maneuvers, a lot of split S's, because the split S will show oscillations and problems on your roll axis when you first roll like this right here, and then when you power through, it will show them on your pitch axis. So it's a really important basic maneuver to learn. I do it over and over and over, and I always feel comfortable doing it that way. I do try to do a couple on going from left to right instead of from right to left, but it just seems to be a little bit worse. So these are the same settings that I was showing you that we started out with, and you can see we got some pretty good things going on right away. During those punch outs, there wasn't a whole lot of wobble or nothing like that. Our nose and everything was planted real good, so that means that our anti-gravity setting is set real good. So the quad was definitely feeling really loose, so the first thing I'm going to do is just start rolling up roll and pitch P's. Right now they're at about a 10-point separation from each other. The weight on this, it really isn't totally different as far as on the axis. It's not a true X, but it's just so light and floaty that you could probably bring those two numbers together a little bit closer. I always just like to have the pitch just a little bit higher, which is where I think I ended up here eventually. There I go. Yeah, I'm bumping it up some more. So we're at, we bumped up roll P to 60 and pitch P to 65. And what I'm about to say is, as soon as I take off, I can start to feel the quad just to get a little bit tighter. It's just so hard to see without GoPro footage. It really stinks. Now there's definitely going to be bobble there because there's no D and the pitches aren't good, but you can see that the split S there was a little bit more comfortable and it looked pretty good. My comfort level is building because things are getting tighter, so I can actually start to go and fly through some tighter proximity, some tighter gaps, and so on and so forth. So there's really not much going on in the rest of this clip. Let me go ahead and we will just skip to the next one and pick up from there just to show you what's going on. But you can see that just that little increase really helped out as far as how I felt with the quad. It felt thicker, like you were going through thicker air. That's how I always try to explain it to people. So now we're going to bump up both axes again by 5 points. So we're up to 70 and 65. And let's see what happens here. I mean, immediately when I was flying, I could feel it tightening up even more, which is good. That's what I wanted. Definitely got a little bit of the bobbles going on there, which I really don't clean all those out because it just kind of takes away from the tune, and especially with these vehicles, like I said, no GoPro. But you can see the split S there. I'm definitely more comfortable because now I'm just like doing them over and over and over, which means things are really starting to feel good. So there is like a perfect level of feel when you do that split S, and that's going to come up in another couple minutes or something, because when your gains get too high on your roll or your pitch, when you go to do an initiate, the split S, not only do you get oscillations, but you will feel that the roll, as your roll P gets too high, it basically becomes harder to set up for the split S, because again, it almost feels like things are stiffening up and you're flying through thicker air. So we're going to keep on raising the P's here, and really that's just kind of the short story of this whole quad that I said from the beginning. You could raise these P's up to like 90s and 100s and you're not going to bring out any bad tendencies in it at all. It's just going to become very robotic and thick and uncomfortable to fly. So let me get to some good stuff when we start making some more changes. Alright, so now we're to the point where you can see my P's are at 70, 76, and I actually increased the D gains. And the reason why I did is I just kept going up with the P's. I was into the 80s and nothing was happening. It was just becoming more and more uncomfortable to fly. That split S, like when I would go up to split into it and hit the roll stick, it was just too slow. It was just too thick, and it was just trying to be too corrective. So you could see right here on this one, I keep on playing around with and trying to do it, but you can see how the quad wants to maintain its pitch access right now, because I have just too much. It won't dive down into that split S. I can roll into it, but it's resisting the need and the want to pitch into it because the P term is too high now. So it's not oscillating or nothing else. It's just, again, it's like trying to move the stick and fly through mud. So it's a perfect example. As you can see, I'm just having a hard time getting low and close to the ground. And raising those D gains more than likely cause that, because the D will actually dampen down the P. Alright, so here is pretty much what I ended up with as far as my PIDs go. And nothing else has been changed, just these PIDs. And it was basically the best mix between feel and dampening out any type of oscillations that I could get. Even though, like I said, there was just no oscillations in there at all. Just a little bit sometimes when I was flying through dirty air. So this is where we're at, and I'll let you take a look at the flight. So here I am. This is the last tuning flight that I did here, and you can see that I just have pretty much will of the quad to do whatever I want it to do. The split S's are working perfectly. There's a little bit of it when you come down into the dirty air, but the quad is just so light that you're never going to get rid of all that. But you can see that you can just kind of do whatever you want to do and aim this thing and control it and just put it wherever you want to. And that is just balancing out that feel with the P gains, adding a couple clicks of the D in to just try to get rid of a little bit of that bounciness and a little bit of that just bad stuff, but not too much. And then just finding a good balance between your roll and your pitch P and your maneuvers that you like to do. You know, you can go out and fly for the day and just work on finding what kind of a roll rate feels good to you. You know, do you think that you fly better with something in the 60s or something in the 70s or 80s, because again, it's all about how things feel. A lot of people get it confused with RC rates and everything like that, but rates really just have to do with rotation and stick deflection. They really don't have anything to do with how the actual quad feels when you're flying. So you've already seen this picture here. This was the final PIDs that I ended up with. So I guess technically this is the actual final flight. And I think I was going pretty good with this thing. It sure did feel good, and everything sounded nice. You can see the nice dip there into the split S, no problem. Did it again, boom. Just command. That's just what you're looking for. Like, where can this thing go? I want it to go where I want it to go. Obviously, if you're a beginner and your pilot skills are not that developed yet, you're going to have a harder time tuning, but just keep on flying, put some time in, and you know, don't worry, you will, as long as you start messing with those sliders and those buttons and just changing things, you will see that there is just you can't do any damage to this thing at all. You're just going to be learning how these numbers affect you and the quad and your sticks, and you just keep on doing it until something feels right. And then once you know what feels right, when you start venturing into different machines, you'll know what feels right for them. I mean, not every quad that I have is tuned for the same thing. You know, like I said, some are tuned for fast flight like this, some are tuned for cinematic slow type of stuff. If you see my channel and my 6-inch stuff, some of it is tuned for GoPro 5-inch freestyle, and then of course you've got something like this, which is like a racer basher type of deal. So that's gonna do it. I know it was a long drawn out video, but I just kind of wanted to talk to a lot of the new guys out there, especially with this quad, because this thing is a really good quad to learn on, and it's even, after doing this, it's even better to learn to tune on, just because you really can feel what it is requiring of you and what you're requiring of it. So anyway, guys, let me know if you got any questions. Hope you're not sleeping. Talk to you later.